take a listen to this.
That's it. She didn't want to die, and it's crazy, but the NCAA has complied immediately, by the way. That's good. But I understand Maine. Is Maine here, the governor of Maine?
The governor of Maine, of course, is Janet Mills, and Maine is known. Maine has legalized marijuana, so freedom is legal in Maine. Donald Trump is against freedom. He doesn't think we have a right to our own bodies. And there's also instant runoff voting. They got ranked choice voting in Maine. So there's a lot of good things going on in Maine.
Are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal laws.
We are the federal law.
Did you hear what he just said? I'm not really going to comment too much because in a way he's going to make a good point about how Democrats are going to lose elections if you're going to say you're going to allow males to compete in female sports. Because that's not fair. You saw that swimmer just like lapping over everybody. So she's going to say, I'll see you in court. But the reason why this exchange was important was because, did you hear what he just said? She says, I'm going to comply with state and federal law. And he says, I am the federal law.
Here, the governor of Maine? Are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal laws.
We are the federal law. Well, you better do it.
So, do you hear that? We are the federal law. He's talking like a dictator. He's talking like a dictator. You just heard... he's talking like a dictator. You just heard Steve Bannon just say recently about how he's going to try to run in 2028, so therefore he's going to break the 22nd Amendment. Also, Kash Patel. Kash Patel is a loyalist. If you kiss the ring hard enough, you'll get a job. So, Kash Patel wrote that book about the king, something saving the king. We all love the king. The king is great. The king and I. So this whole idea that America was founded on overthrowing a king. That's why we have American constitutionalism is wonderful, because we have enumerated powers, the rule of law, bicameralism, federalism, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, elections. If you take away all those things, if you take away our civil liberties, if you take away the federalism, bicameralism, the three branches of government, all those things is to prevent America from ever having a king. You get 2 terms. You got 4 years. And then you're out. And there's 3 branches of government, so you got to go through Congress, you got to go through the Supreme Court, and then you got 50 states. And then every individual in America has a Bill of Rights. We all have individual, independent freedoms. He's talking like a dictator. He's talking like a dictator.
Better do it, because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply, because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.
See you in court.
Every state, good, I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one. And enjoy your life after governor, because I don't think you'll be in elected politics. Every state has a responsibility to...
Man, that's crazy. That's crazy. He's sitting there talking to all the governors. I mean, why would the governors just sit there and go through this? Who do we see here? We see Greg Gianforte, that's Montana. We see Colorado right there. That's Maine over there. Is that Robert Kennedy right here? I don't know who a lot of these other people are. If I was the Governors Association, I don't know if I would take this crap, because this makes it look like he is the king of all the governors. He's the king of all the states. And he is, the president of the United States, but the states have, I would say actually in terms of power, the governor has the majority of the power for that state. So to me, the king is not the law. In fact, I like Thomas Paine. If anybody knows Thomas Paine wrote in 1776 Common Sense during the American Revolution that in America the law is king. The law is king. And this goes against what King Louis see in absolute power In absolute governments, Thomas Paine wrote, the king is law, so in free countries, the law ought to be king. The law ought to be king. So that's in Common Sense, of course. Common Sense is going to be the seminal work that's going to push George Washington to cross the Delaware and take Trenton and then take Princeton. We were losing. We were getting our asses kicked by the British Redcoats. George Washington only won a couple battles. He won enough. He won the most decisive battle at the end, and that was the one that was important. So in America, the law is king. In America, the law is king. So the lex is rex. The law is king. The rex is not lex. The lex is rex. We're a nation of laws, not of men. Right makes might. Might is not right. Just because somebody is bigger than somebody else, they can enforce, injustice. They can enforce a lie. They can push a lie on somebody else. And if right is not might, then right needs to be as mighty as possible. We need to have the marriage of right and might. Right needs to be the most mightiest of possible. It's a dynamic duo. If you could enforce, if you could put power behind right and good and virtuous and honorable, that's the best thing we need. That's the best thing we need. Of course, King Louis was one of the big ones that would say the king is the law. I am the law. So he's signing all these executive orders. He just got all of his loyalists appointed underneath him. He's talking like a dictator. He's issuing these executive orders. He's writing laws. He's writing the legislation. Congress is supposed to write the legislation. So I think Congress should take all those executive orders and vote on them. Either assent to them or disagree with them. Because if he's going to just write the law, then why do we even have a Congress at all? And then other things. I Am the Law. It's a song by Anthrax. It's attributed to Frank Hague. Anthrax, 1986. It's a British comic book character, Judge Dredd. I am the law, Judge Dredd. I am the law's speech. Who says I am the law? Judge Dredd says I am the law. What does it mean when someone says I am the law? If a police officer says it, it means euphemistically telling you to obey their lawful orders regardless of whether or not they were telling you to do or not to do was covered by a specific law. Judge Dredd used to say it just before shooting the bad guy. I am the law. Anthrax, I am the law podcast. I am the law. See, TV series, George Raft. So a lot of Judge Dredd. And I know Judge Dredd is, the Sylvester Stallone. But who is actually Judge Dredd? I'm just going to type in, who is Judge Dredd? Judge Dredd is a fictional character from the comic book series 2000 AD, created by writer John Wagner, artist Carlos Ezquerra. He first appeared in 1977 in the second issue of 2000 AD. Judge Dredd is a law enforcement officer in the dystopian future city of Mega City 1, which spans the east coast of North America. He's a street judge, meaning he has the authority to act as judge, jury, and executioner, delivering instant justice to criminals. Dredd is known for his iconic helmet, which obscures most of his face except for his stern mouth and jaw, his unwavering commitment to uphold the law, often with a no-nonsense authoritarian approach. His famous catchphrase, I am the law, encapsulates his role and personality. Okay, so I want to say a couple more things, but we'll keep this short. So let's just say for every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. I like the golden rule and justice be an eye for an eye, because that's karma, right? The golden rule is you treat others the way you want to be treated. So when people treat you good, you treat them good. When people treat you bad, you treat them bad back. So justice is eye for an eye. The golden rule is you treat people good. So for goodness, you give goodness and you get goodness. For justice is eye for an eye. So when someone does injustice, then you do injustice back to them. Any excuse will serve a tyrant. What goes up must come down. Power never concedes anything without a demand. The limits of tyrants are prescribed by the endurance of those whom they oppress. Find out what a people will quietly submit to, and you found the exact measure of injustice and wrong which will be imposed upon them, and oppression will continue until stopped with words or blows or with both. The first law of nature is you pursue peace for as long as you can, then self-defense. When dictatorship becomes fact, then revolution becomes duty. 1 + 1 = 2, 2 + 2 = 4, and E = mc². Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Peace is not the absence of conflict and tension, but the presence of justice.